Picture this. You wake up one morning, walk down to the beach, and the beach is gone. Not because of the tide, because the ocean has quietly moved a few streets inland, and it has no plans to leave. At the very top and bottom of our planet sit two gigantic blocks of frozen water, the Arctic up north and Antarctica down south. Together, they hold most of the fresh water on the entire planet, locked away as ice. So, what if it all melted? Every last bit of it. Let's get one thing out of the way first. If the ice floating in the Arctic Ocean melts, the sea barely moves. Why? Because it's already floating in the water, just like the ice cubes in your drink. Your glass doesn't overflow when they melt. The North Pole is basically one giant ice cube in the world's biggest glass. The real trouble is down south, Antarctica. That ice isn't floating. It's sitting on solid land, piled up in some places almost 3 miles thick. And if all of that slides into the sea, the water has nowhere to go but up. And there is a staggering amount of it. Antarctica alone holds about 90% of all the ice on Earth, enough frozen water to bury a continent. That is the giant we're talking about waking up. So how much up are we talking? If every glacier and ice sheet melted, global sea levels would rise by around 60 meters. That's over 200 feet, roughly the height of a 20-story building lapping at your front door. Let's take a little tour of the new coastline. The Statue of Liberty? She'd be standing up to her shoulders in seawater, holding her torch up like someone wading through a deep pool, desperately trying to keep their phone dry. London, Shanghai, Miami, and the entire country of the Netherlands, all quietly slipping beneath the waves. And Venice? Venice has been rehearsing for this for about 1,000 years. Honestly, the rest of us are just finally catching up. Entire island nations, places sitting just a few feet above the sea, would simply vanish from the map, like someone quietly hit delete. A whole country, reduced to a great story that scuba divers tell each other. In the great drowned cities, life would get creative. Picture commuting to work by kayak, paddling between skyscrapers. Fish swimming lazily through what used to be a subway station. Your old gym membership, suddenly more of a scuba license. On the bright side, every surviving house technically becomes ocean view. Realtors would have a field day, right up until their office floods too. And of course, humans are nothing if not stubborn. Give us a few generations of rising water, and we'd probably just build upward. Floating neighborhoods, houses on tall stilts, boats parked where cars used to sit. And somewhere, you just know, someone would open a little cafe on a raft and proudly call it rustic. But here's the part that really messes with your head. That quiet little inland town you moved to, far from the crowds, far from the tourists? Congratulations, you now own beachfront property. Cities that have never seen the ocean in their history would suddenly have a seafront, a harbor, and a flock of very confused seagulls showing up like, wait, when did this happen? And landlocked countries that never had a single beach could suddenly need a navy. Somewhere, a tiny mountain nation is frantically Googling how to build a port. But before you start panic selling your apartment, here's the reassuring part. None of this happens overnight. There's no giant wave, no dramatic splash. Melting all of that ice would take centuries, most likely thousands of years. It's less of a disaster movie and more of the slowest flood in history. And while that water creeps up over generations, the world above the surface starts changing in some genuinely surprising ways. Let's start with the biggest surprise of all. When we say Antarctica is ice, we forget there's actually land underneath all of it. Mountains, valleys, even ancient lakes that have been sealed in the dark for millions of years. Strip away the ice, and Antarctica becomes a brand new continent, green, rocky, and completely up for grabs. Imagine the world's strangest real estate rush. Countries racing south to plant flags on land that's been buried since before humans existed. Cozy beachfront villa in sunny Antarctica. A sentence that would suddenly, weirdly, make sense. The same goes for Greenland. Under all that ice is a massive island of bare rock and soil, ready to turn green for the first time in millions of years. Its name would finally, hilariously, make sense. Someone named it Greenland as a marketing trick. Turns out he was just a few thousand years early. And up north, with the Arctic ice gone, the very top of the world would open up. Ships could sail straight across the pole, slicing weeks off journeys that once had to crawl all the way around the planet. The North Pole, once the most frozen, remote place we could imagine, turned into a busy shipping shortcut. Santa's definitely going to need a permit. But it's not all bonus beaches and free continents. All that melting ice would pour an enormous amount of fresh water into the salty oceans. And the ocean's great currents, those invisible rivers that carry warm and cold water around the planet, run on a delicate balance of salt and temperature. Mess with that balance, and you mess with the weather everywhere. Some places that are warm and cozy today could actually get colder. Picture Britain, surrounded by more ocean than ever, somehow ending up chillier than before. A very British kind of irony. More sea, worse weather. And here's a strange twist for a planet drowning in water. Most of that new ocean is salty, you can't drink it. Meanwhile, the glaciers and ice caps were actually some of our biggest stores of fresh drinking water. So you could end up surrounded by ocean in every direction, and still struggling to find a decent glass of water. Water everywhere, and the irony is almost rude. Then there's the weight. This one sounds like science fiction, but it's completely real. All that ice is unbelievably heavy, and for millions of years it's been pressing down on the land beneath it. Take the weight away, and the land slowly rises. Greenland and Antarctica would literally bounce back up, like a couch cushion when you finally stand off it, just in extreme slow motion, over thousands of years. Even the planet's spin would shift a tiny bit, as all that water sloshes away from the poles toward the equator. The Earth, very slightly, would wobble differently. The whole globe gently rebalancing itself. So picture the world, far in the future, once the water finally settles. New coastlines, new green continents at the poles, old cities turned into quiet underwater ruins where divers drift past traffic lights and through the windows of skyscrapers. A planet that looks familiar, but completely redrawn. And here's the thing that's easy to miss. We've been imagining all of the ice melting, every single bit. That's an extreme, far-off what if, but it points at something we almost never stop to think about. Just how much of our map is quietly drawn by ice. The coastlines, the cities, the harbors we build our entire lives around, all sitting at a level the ice decided for us long before we showed up. So the next time you're standing on a beach, watching the waves roll in, take a good look at exactly where the water ends and the land begins. Because that line isn't permanent. It never really was. It's just frozen, for now. So, if the poles melted and you could claim any patch of brand new Antarctic land, where would you build your house? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for wondering with me. If you enjoyed this, you know what to do, and I'll see you in the next one.